that's spring. I survived one thing in 1984. Later in the year, it was July, because I know we were up in Berkeley, California, seeing a series of concerts that started, it was 3 concerts in 48 hours. They start on Friday night, then the next one is Saturday evening, and the last one is Sunday afternoon, and it ends on Sunday afternoon.
Sunday afternoon, Sunday afternoon.
The same time the Friday night one started. So we're camping out kind of up in the Oakland Hills. And I grew up out in the desert around rattlesnakes, and never had a problem with them. I've seen them, you avoid them, they avoid you. But camping in the Oakland Hills, I sleep very soundly. So during the first night of the concerts, I had this dream. I had this dream that this kind of like lizard thing was wrapped around my foot, and that it was sinking its fangs into my foot. I'm like, okay, whatever. Woke up the next day, not a problem, but later my foot started aching. And I thought, well, we were at concerts, we were dancing a lot. I figured, well, maybe I danced barefoot out in concrete, and maybe I got, maybe I hurt my foot a little bit. And as the weekend goes on, my foot's hurting more and more and more and more and more. It's starting to swell a little bit. So I went to a hospital, an emergency room, and they said, well, let's take some x-rays. Well, there's no fracture, your foot's fine. Just, let it heal. So I went back to the same friend's house back down in Pasadena area, La Cañada, and we stayed the night at his house, and my foot just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it got so big that it just locked into place. It was, just like stuck. It couldn't move. It was so swollen. And I'm like, something's wrong here. And at the same time, I'm getting delirious and delusional and delirious. And after a couple days of this, getting worse and worse and hurting more and more, I think we need to go to a doctor. So we go to a doctor about 4 p.m. And he looks at it and he goes, oh my. Calls up another doctor who was a surgeon, and he says, oh, thank goodness they're there. You've got to go over to this doctor now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Go now. He's in. He's waiting for you. I get in there, and oh my goodness. He's put me on a table. He cut my foot open, and it started, first time I've had relief in days. It was in so much pain from the swelling. And then he cut that open, and it's like, oh, geez, and finally a little bit of relief. And there was this white and black fluid and blood coming out, and of course they took tests of it. And he noticed that the muscles were turned gelatinous, which is what happens with the rattlesnake venom. He goes, because you've been bit by something. He goes, that's not, it wasn't a fracture that got festered. He goes, you've been bit by something, we're gonna run some tests, but you've got to go to the hospital, and because they need to go in and scrape all the gelatinous muscle tissue off, and if it's in your bone, they're gonna cut off part of your foot. Well, luckily they scraped it down, bone was clean, and it took me about a week in the hospital and a few months of rehab. But the test came back and they said, you were bitten by a rattlesnake. So that dream that I had, it was a snake that came in and up in the hills. It got chilly. It sought the heat of my foot, wrapped around my nice warm foot, and then every time I'd move my foot, it would bite me to like, hey, stop that, stop that. So the dream I was having that this thing was wrapped around my foot, biting my foot, was actually how you have the phone rings in your house and you dream that the phone's ringing in your dream. Well, same thing here, that the snake biting me was causing me to have the dream of the lizard around my foot sinking its fangs in me. And sure enough, that's what was happening. And thank goodness it was far enough in the extremity that it stayed out of my blood system enough. Well, here I am. So, I guess if I survived that, I had some sort of destiny. So I think I was destined to come to St. Andrews and teach statistics.